see the little red light on. So
you have 20 minutes.
Excellent. Okay, so for this, I initially sort of bounced back and forth between the idea of doing a game and doing some sort of interactive musical system kind of thing. Was really impressed by the videos of React Table and their systems. So I decided to actually go sort of in between the two and make a rhythm game, a music game. And it's called Lightwell. Here it is. It has 4 playable songs. This song selection screen, that's a tongue twister, does the thing that every Surface app actually needs to do. It has a all the slidey cards, and I can rotate, but I can't zoom because I thought that looked really stupid. So it's
cards, right?
So they're cards. So yeah, you're not supposed to be able to zoom things. I didn't like the non-physicality.
App in there, so
right. So this is just the selection piece. So I can get more information about the song, so I can actually hold that. So this is loaded from a meta file. Oh, by the way, all of these are loaded off the disk. What it does is it scans a directory and looks for a bunch of well-named files. So a whole bunch of MP3s for the audio tracks, a ping file for the cover, a MIDI file to do the control, which you'll see what that does in a minute, and an XML file with all the meta information, including the title and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to put the cover art back on there, and each of these also, actually, if you hold down, you actually get a nice 15-second preview clip of every song. And as soon as you let go of the menu, that stops playing. The reason I did it that way is that I didn't want people to have to open the menu up to stop the playback and go back and forth. I wanted people to be able to very quickly grab this and be, no, that sounds dumb, and grab this one and maybe, okay, yeah, maybe I'd rather play that one. I wanted it to be a very sort of quick selection. And I've got 4 different songs on here. 3 of them are mine from my last 2 albums, which if you want to buy, I have copies today. But anyway, and this last one's from a guy, he's an independent electronic musician named Hans out of Australia. I met him years ago, and I emailed him, asked him if I could use one of his tracks for this, and he was like, dude, that's awesome! So yeah, he's going to want to see this video. All right, so I'm going to load this up, and in order to get the most people around, I'm going to, now we'll start with this one. So you hit play, does this nice little loading screen. In the background, it's actually spooling all the MP3s up off the disk, and it actually wasn't until this morning that I managed to balance all of the .NET threads in just the right way so that that part actually worked fairly smoothly. It's a pain to figure out when files have loaded and stuff like that. So this is the main playing field. We've got our start field in the background. If you look really, really close, I want to point out that it actually is moving. It's very slow, very gentle. It's meant to be kind of an ambient effect in the background. So we've got, right now, we've got our main ring here with 4 different shuttles, I've been calling them. So if you grab a shuttle, see how it lights up under my finger? Can folks see this pretty well? So I let go, it goes back to the dark red. I grab it. While I'm moving the shuttle, I can take my finger off of it, and it still moves in concert with what I'm actually doing. And that's actually true for all 4 of these. If I go off the edge of the table, obviously I lose the contact. This is important inside the actual game because as long as you keep contact with the table after having captured one of these things, it's active, and it will only be a viable, playable element if it's active. So if you're playing this and your shuttle goes dark, you're not actually doing anything, even as much as you might hope. Which also means that you can't just leave the shuttles there and have them sort of win the game for you, which was an interesting feature in the first take on this. Another thing I want to point out is that the first time that you grab each of these shuttles, you get a very, very short preview clip of what that track is. So that would be the drums, that's the bass guitar, this is the synthesizer, that's the guitars and some other synth sort of thing. So at this point, if I can get 4 volunteers so I can wave my hands and talk about this while people are playing. Don't all rush at once. Now I have it gated so that the playback will only start when you've got, when all 4 people grab their shuttles simultaneously. So before you do it, what you actually have to do is there'll be little light dots coming out of the center of this, and it's your job to reflect them back into the center. And I'll explain everything as it goes. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and grab it. So as you can see, we've got all of the dots are starting to fly out of the center. And if you notice, if you miss the dot, it actually mutes the underlying audio track. So if somebody wants to suck for a second, so notice how the drums kind of disappeared, but now they're back now that he's actually hitting. Also, the big spinning nausea device in the middle. Kate doesn't like this part. But this is actually not only aesthetic, it's also a gameplay element. This is to make it so that the dots as they're coming for you, towards you don't look like they travel in quite a straight line. So you can't use your peripheral vision anymore to sort of predict where everything's going. There's too much noise in the environment to do that. You know the general shape of stuff that's coming towards you, so you can plan and predict, but you can't just sit there and kind of blindly go, yeah, did not have everything line up. A small interesting point is that it actually also rotates at a speed according to the tempo of the song. Now, the way that all of these dots are generated, the way that I know the tempo of the song, is that there's an underlying MIDI file that I authored by hand over many, many ridiculous hours for each of these songs that actually generates all of these. The MIDI standard has 128 notes, possible addressable notes for every track. And I split the circle up into 3-degree segments, so there's 120 segments all over, lanes I call them, that the little blips can fly out at you in. Now the blips don't actually ever leave that lane as they're coming towards you, so it really is all very radially linear. And I'll get into the calculation of the angles and stuff in a moment.
Can you guys tell which thing you're controlling?
Yeah. So yeah, that's actually an interesting point that you bring up. The way that the scoring is working on this, it's actually based on the section that they're in and not on the shuttle that's doing the reflection. I decided to not have a hard limit on how far the shuttles can go, so their shuttles could go around the entire circle. They'll run into each other and they'll bounce off each other. But barring that, they will actually make it all the way around the circle, even though if Mark starts actually hitting things over on the other side of the circle, so it's not going to do him any good. What's that?
They can just switch instruments right now.
Yep, if they wanted to. They would be getting points for the other person, effectively, but you can do it. So, anyway, there's this giant MIDI file that's controlling everything. It's all, I think, 0 is like over there or something, and it wraps all the way around. And that also determines how, where in the song we are, and that's how we know when the song is actually done playing. Now, in order to get the events to actually line up with the edge of the circle, so you notice he's got this little, let's see if I can find a good one here. So on over here we've got the bass guitar, and so it's got like the 2 low notes and the little trill thing, and then the 2 low notes again. The way that can actually line up with the real music that's playing in the background, we actually have to have an 8/4 note length delay, because the blips are being generated from the center of the circle in time by the MIDI file. By the time they get to the edge, we're 2 bars away from where that actually happened. So all that I actually did was I didn't actually calculate anything. I just have them, start flying out from the center of the circle. As soon as the first one hits the edge, it turns on the audio tracks. So you start the MIDI control first, and then we're just about the end of the song here. And
so does that mean if you miss the first note, you screw up your track?
no, actually, it detects when it goes over the edge. So here I can actually, thanks for the segue, because here I can talk about how I do all the calculation and coordinates and things like that. If you guys want, you can go ahead and load up a next song or let other people hear. I'm just going to keep waving my arms and talking.
So you didn't do any normalization. So Amanda had fewer notes to hit. Her score
Right,
was
exactly.
lower if you did
It was
normalize it.
absolutely arbitrary, and it was all done by hand. So it was not meant to. The scores are not really meant to be compared
This one
across
has
people.
5.
Initially, I just had percentage of hits, but that felt kind of lame. So I wanted to have something a little bit more.
This one is 5.
Yeah, Everglow has 5 tracks. If you hit the more info on that, you'll see that you've got 5 different tracks and 2 medium and 3 easy. So that's a good one for people to just kind of, jump up and play if you want
Give
to.
it a shot.
Someone else want to jump
If
in?
anybody wants to, go ahead, jump in.
Is there anything keeping, let's say you have an instrument that rolls across a couple octaves,
And it becomes an impossible, I can't hear two notes that are two different at the same time.
It's an arbitrary map between the dots and the underlines. So the dots are not actually generating any notes.